It is impossible to move past something that affects you so fundamentally. The memories shine so much brighter than anything else that they pale in comparison. Anything that does come your way that resembles that memory are held so dearly. Nostalgia is so potent to the way our minds work. The warmth of those memories embrace us. The wildest part is not knowing when these happen. It could start as simple as deciding you're going for a walk, or maybe deciding that you're going to try painting for the first time. It could be trying to get back in touch with an old friend or family member, that show you've always wanted to try out. Or a game you've been hearing everyone talk so positively of, but are so quiet about what that game even is. Outer Wilds was talked about for a while. People were praising it for various reasons in a way that made me kind of wary at the time. Like most situations like this, I tend to get pushed away when people go bonkers over something. I wish I could better distance myself from that hype, because all it makes me think is that this is the best thing since sliced bread, and they're usually very wrong. But despite everything, there was something that struck a chord with me. I always loved the concept of space exploration. I wanted to be an astronaut as a kid, and I'm making YouTube videos now, so I followed through on that dream. I want to say that every time I played anything that had some kind of spaceflight element, it never resonated, for whatever reason. Possibly to focus on tactical gameplay or resource management. That's not what I was into space for, man. The way people had described Outer Wilds, it very much sounded like it could be what I was looking for. I never did buy it, though. A friend had. It was Christmas 2021, and I saw my Steam gift copy appear before my eyes. Thank you, Nuka. And unlike how I usually approach games gifted to me, I apologize to everyone who's gifted me anything over the years. I actually started it up soon after receiving it. I think I was just intrigued by the vague notion that this was a really inspiring space puzzle game. I wanted to solve puzzles and get awestruck by new discoveries. Little did I know was that I was going to get sucked into its outer wilds.
Failure.
It's easy to get swept up in the beauty of space. There are things happening beyond our grasp, and the call of the explorer is so strong in us all. That's why our character, a Hearthian, born of 4 eyes and an adventurous spirit, is starting their first day into interstellar travel. Hearthian kind, while small in context to anything we know of, they have their own civilization going strong, full of life and character, these traits so familiar. It's rustic and cozy. It's a good home to live. Some of our friends here are fellow spacefarers and explorers, and they've attained artifacts that paint pieces of a much larger picture of what's going on and what happened before us. Strange moving rocks that disappear when you're not looking. Crystals that allow us to walk on the surfaces they're placed. Other strange creatures' bones of the ancient race named the Nomai. Ghost matter that kills you if you stay in it. And more recently, a particular Nomai statue. There's some old Nomai writing that we're allowed to read thanks to our translator tool. Until now, we couldn't fully translate everything they'd left behind in the solar system. We're the first to have this portable translator after working with our pal, Hal. Upon leaving with our translator and launch codes from Hornfell, our statue friend gives us the old eye to eye. Weird, but not an issue. We got a space shuttle to catch. And it's here after getting settled into our spacecraft made of wood, and wow, a lot of wood. We are allowed to take whatever direction we feel is best. There's no real set goal here other than to uncover any information we can about the Nomai, ourselves, and everything else. You'll meet your coworkers and friends on the other planets, discussing with them what they've discovered and what might be worth your time looking into. They're friendly enough, and they each carry their own instrument playing a tune. Hell, you can hear those instruments being played through your signal scope given to you. Helps identify where people are, or other odd anomalies to listen out for. There's a hell of a lot to uncover, and each find feels very fruitful. Helps piece together a puzzle, whether genuine understanding of how something works or the puzzle of an individual's path through life. Each something you stumble upon is rewarding. Things click together in your mind slowly. It's really beautiful. To put it in a specific light, like those before me have, it's like a Metroidvania, where instead of each upgrade being a weapon or item, it's all knowledge that you put to use. Your tools are stored in your brain, and also information is stored on your ship's archives, which is really handy if you've taken a small break and find yourself a bit lost. I'd often find myself marveling at how the environments were handled. I know every game has some level of environmental hazards, something more than just guys whacking at you with fists or bullets, but something about bursting through the atmosphere of the gas giant Giant's Deep and immediately seeing several tornadoes genuinely scared me like nothing else really has. This game always gave me the feeling that in the grand scheme of everything, things are happening and I just had to deal with it. Tornadoes, black holes, ghost matter, whatever. They were ever present and didn't give a shit about me. It's humbling. This interspersed with some really enchanting music that really paints the scene for you. It continues the rustic theming while maintaining a sense of wonder, while giving you unique vibes based on particular finds that enhance particular moments and revelations. It meshes really well. Outer Wilds hit me in a way I can't let go of. It's hard to do the game justice just by talking around the edges of it. It's like I want to say every little aspect of it, but encapsulating it without spoiling key parts is tough to manage. It would be a lot of me directly explaining how it functions and the core mysteries. There's a lot of them. Remember that statue? Well, 22 minutes into your journey has passed and the sun has started looking a little off, yeah? Here's the thing. it's often difficult to move past memories that are so fundamental to you. They've seared themselves into your mind, their shape still resonating into the depths of who you are now. You find yourself talking about these moments still whenever prompted, and oftentimes the prompt only vaguely resembles what that memory is, but it's enough to keep that fire of the memory strong, still remembering nearly every aspect of it. It's just a little hazier now. I want to try talking about this game again. Let's dig a little deeper, though. We know who we are and what we're doing, though the sun seems to get in our way every 22 minutes. We're sent back to our sleeping bag and asked to try again. Sort of like a Groundhog's Day situation, though significantly more alarming. The Nomai were doing some kind of research into some eye of the universe, and methods to finding it and getting to it. Their structures litter the solar system as well as their writing, and sadly their skeletons. Despite their bones being bereft of life and heat, their conversations sprawled onto the walls and floors, and in scrolls, still feel warm. It's all text, but it still speaks loudly of people with so much to them. They had relationships and families, and they had wants and needs. We can see how they understood the solar system they were in. I mean, even the kids used that to make up rules to a game they played. It feels so familiar to what we do as kids. We try to incorporate things we learn into little games we play. Understanding them does help us. It's a good thing they recorded so much. What they know will be our guiding light. They talk of having heard a signal older than the universe, the eye, which seems pretty damn important of a find. They knew a lot, and it's just all scattered amongst planets and ruins, displaying the imagery of the eye everywhere they were located. It was a unified goal. Each planet hosts their own array of complications and natural hazards. Giant's Deep, previously mentioned, harnessing extreme weather hazards and odd floating islands. Brittle Hollow, a planet forever being attacked by Hollow's lantern, its orbital volcano, hosts an underground and hanging city just above a black hole. Hourglass Twins, whom, like the name suggests, has two planets transferring large quantities of sand to each other, and has deep canyons and cave networks. Dark Bramble, a horrifying planet whose hole knows no limits. Then there's Timberhearth, our home, most recognizable to us with serene greenery and a very livable climate. It's all very diverse and very interesting to explore. How about that teleporting moon? Well, we do understand that it's of a quantum origin. It's seemingly impossible to land on unless it's observed in some capacity. Fortunately for us, we do have a tool that takes images, and surprisingly that tool works to fulfill the being observed requirement, as we can see it in our ship with our 4 eyes. Landing on it is a surreal success. Early attempts trying to land on the moon would just seemingly make you blast through it and the moon being gone afterwards. This time, we can actually see land and an incredibly cloudy sky. It's easy to get your ship thrown far away due to the nature of everything constantly moving about when you're not actively looking at it. Quantum bullshit. Solving this is its own conundrum that... damn it, ran out of time. There's a lot of twists and turns and questions each step of the way. Information that unlocks an understanding of how quantum imaging works, or even how these teleporters function. They're not random. There's a rhyme and reason to everything. We just need to take time to go over our information and what we can perceive. How about an example, since we're talking in ideas here? At this point in the game, I hadn't a single clue as to why anything was really happening. I had pieces about what the Nomai were researching and a desire to stop this cycle, whatever it meant. I had my sights trained on the interloper, since that bad boy had been hitting the sun and things would soon start falling apart. There had to be answers on it. Landing on the front of the comet while it was moving away from the sun was thankfully easy at this point due to properly mastering the flight controls finally, and learning how to use the landing camera for once. I walked around the comet completely unsure of what to look for. I headed to the tail end of the comet and discovered an old Nomai's spaceship lodged into the ice. It's interesting, on Ember Twin there are controls that allow you to teleport the ship back to its launch pad. I wonder why that hadn't happened. If you do warp that ship back to Ember Twin, you do also get some information about how there were some strange readings within the comet, and something about fissures on the sunward-facing side, as well as the body of presumably Clary, the one who recorded this information. Though, at the time I hadn't discovered that yet. Anyway, there were some old recordings that implied 3 Nomai had landed there, though they'd landed on the dark side of the comet, and it trapped their ship in ice. 1 remained within the ship, and the rest investigated. Seems like an unfortunate end for these fellows. I headed back to the front of the comet, and it was now heading towards the sun to swing around it. I wasn't exactly sure how to go about exploring the place any further when I started to notice the icy cracks of the comet started to part. The other 2 had to be here. I jumped down and in. There were signs that someone had been here before. Thankfully, a plant was here to give me some oxygen. Though, interestingly, there were a lot of strange paths and holes to navigate with a hell of a lot of ghost matter. Eventually, I'd find a body with another log describing something deeply terrifying. There is a large mass of ghost matter deeply embedded into this comet, thus seemingly causing the sun to erupt, I assumed. This is a deeply horrifying revelation for me. But at the time, I thought this was my goal now, figure out in some way to prevent the interloper from colliding with the sun. I don't know how one would even approach this, but it had to be the solution to stopping the loop. That became what I assumed was the goal for a while. But there was something that I had forgotten in my time with the game. Chert had mentioned this, and while it can be easy to overlook when you've become so focused on the individual planets and dealing with our own sun situation, but there has been an increase in supernovae within the galaxy. Suns were going out much like how ours does at the end of our 22-minute loop. Memory is a wild thing, even given the ability to revisit the same moment over and over again, endlessly repeating and examining details. Certain aspects become hazy. Even such a glaringly obvious detail consistently in front of our eyes, it's overlooked. It's lost within the recesses of our mind. It's scary. Terrifying, honestly. To be honest with you, I've had some losses in my life. I mean, it's difficult not to when I'm already in my 30s. The passage of time is rough, and I've always had the fear of completely forgetting my friends and family. How could I forget the things that they said to me? The lessons they taught, the way they held themselves, their voices. It's a burden, the fading of a memory. I want to hold on to it forever, but I can't. The things that are fundamental to us are usually mostly forgotten. Memories get hazy, you often don't remember why something happened, what led up to it in the moment, or even the exact words said at the time. Was there sunlight still? Sunset? Had the moon already shown itself and the cool breeze of the night already snuggled up against you? I can't remember. At its core, though, was that feeling. I still remember the faces, the smiles, the tears. Everything else was cloudy, but deep down it still shines. It's foundational. Even if you can't see it anymore, it's still very much a piece of you and how you're built. I've been talking and thinking about Outer Wilds for almost 2.5 years now. Anyone who would let me talk about it, I would say as much as I could without revealing much of anything. It'd pretty much go like, everyone who said that this game was amazing was actually right. I never thought it'd hit me as hard as it had. Maybe it hit me at just the right time. I fell in love with some planets and a feeling. I was playing an explorer and an adventurer who was the very first to discover and understand a race whom no one had really fully understood before. I fell in love with the overarching feel. The track end times, which is used to convey that it's the end of your loop, you've run out of time, wrap up what you've got going right now, we're going to try again. It's a song that I became comfortable with. It's a cue to the player. I so closely associate that song with two distinct feelings. The first being complete stress. I had just gotten into this building or room, finally after figuring out the secret to entering, and time was running out for me to read everything I possibly could. Such an urgent moment that I needed to learn everything as fast as possible under duress. And the second being, I didn't have time left to try for anything else. My best bet was to just fly myself to a nice little spot on the planet or in space, look towards the sun, and wait it out. It was oddly comforting and refreshing to just let myself face the timer head on, to see it reset, colliding with my face, destroying me and everything else. Or how about when you line up the planets perfectly and pull out your signal scope? You find the combination of all of our explorer friends playing together harmoniously. It's a beautiful moment that ignites the feeling of home and friendship and discovery, and within the context of everything else, it plays so potently. The track Space hits a note with me as well, surprisingly. I mentioned that I fell in love with space as a kid, and this song ties in the strings of Ryback's banjo playing with the soothing synth of exploration. Each loop you get to hear this play as you set course and fly your way towards a planet because there's something unanswered there. The music tied into those individual moments that paint a much larger picture of the whole experience. They're a feeling. Music is such an important aspect in general to given time in anything. They set a tone that paint the emotions that you feel. I'm not gonna lie, music is something I do want to touch on much more in games, how affecting they are. That's for a separate video. But I do want to say this much. When I hear a song, I want it to be able to remind me of moments. I listen to the Outer Wilds music to revisit the wonder I had, the complete fascination when I was entranced in this game. I listen to it to revisit those memories. The beautiful moment of realizing that with everything, you have to move on. The Nomai set up a perpetual time loop. Their initial goal was to cause a supernova in our sun, allowing it to power the devices within the Ash Twins to cause a loop to fire off, starting 22 minutes before. This would allow them a chance to fire a singular probe in a random direction in hopes of finding the coordinates of the eye of the universe. They failed though. They couldn't go through with firing off a supernova Their desire to seek the eye was left aside to look into the interloper, discovering ghost matter, which ultimately led to their end, sadly. Though we do meet one of theirs left behind. Solanum went on their voyage to the quantum moon and discovered its secrets and asked us the ultimate question. What happens when a conscious observer entered the eye itself, an object of pure quantum uncertainty? I suppose it's up to us to handle the Nomai structures and answer it ourselves, as we have to leave her behind. Their systems were left unused for lifetimes, but still ready to activate despite no one manning any of them. This is not letting us progress. Unfortunately for us, the supernova we're experiencing is the natural conclusion to this sun's lifespan. We're trapped in the last 22 minutes of our and everyone else's lives. The universe around us is moving ever forward, and it's all coming to an end. Life as we know it is wrapping up. This is all happening whether I like it or not. It doesn't give a shit about me. It's humbling. At this point, we have every piece of the puzzle now. The Nomai's mothership had crashed in Dark Bramble. Its warp core destroyed, but ready to take on the coordinates to the eye we'd found recessed in the core of Giant's Deep. The last functioning warp core is an Ash Twin, still perpetuating our cycle. Unless we stop it. We have to take it. In doing this, we are finally breaking the cycle, coming to terms that we have to move past everything that's holding us still. We don't have to keep looking back. Fundamentally, we are free from the shackles of our memories. We've used them to make something bigger and better. The feelings we have for them still bright within ourselves. The loop in our minds can stop. We can make tomorrow better, so we can make the next universe better than it was. Interaction with the eye brings about the ultimate end of the universe. There's nothing else to be done about it. Our reaching here is that culmination of the end. But it was only natural anyway. Everything was dying from the get-go. We can finally meet the eye, the first and last of our universe. At the end, we find our friends. We make one last beautiful song together. The warmth of the music forming a new universe, a new set of galaxies and stars. It hurts to know that we can't fix the past and know what comes next. But that's the past. We don't have to fix the past. We have to fix now for what's ahead. To linger on something, we're stagnating. There's only so much to be gained from it, and we're well beyond the point of gaining. I've been thinking of Outer Wilds for a better part of 2.5 years. Speaking so fondly of it, wanting to urge people to try it. And when they finally do, I think to push them towards the same course of events that I discovered and in that order. But that ruins the sense of discovery for them, and it makes me stagnate. My experiences are not everyone else's. Seeing things from a different light and in a new way are so important. I played through this game a second time, but visiting it through the eyes of a friend and my brother. I'd only push them in a direction if they were 1000% lost and they needed help. Otherwise, I'd let them go at it on their own, discovering things at their own pace, seeing what the solar system had to offer. I thought about recording those sessions, but I didn't want to have the thought of recording hovering over my interactions and theirs. It had to be clean and bereft of making jokes for an audience or anything. It was us and Outer Wilds. And we didn't even get to the interloper. The game had been telling us that things happen and you have to move on from it. You learn, you think about it, and you go forward. You can't linger in the shadow of the past forever. And I hung on to that message so dearly. But what I didn't even realize is that I've been lingering in this game's shadow for that time. It's so important to me as a piece of media. I think about it constantly. I listen to the music and I think about what it all meant and I tear up. But these things pass. And as time presses forward, I am left forgetting things. I can't remember specific loops. I can't remember specific discoveries or where they even were. I don't remember the names of some characters. I had to look all of that up. But there's nothing wrong with that. I can't live with it forever. Outer Wilds imprinted upon me a certain feeling and a message. A lot is still hazy, but it's hard not to use this as some kind of stepping stone. Nostalgia is so potent to the way our minds work. This game is more than a sum of its parts. I don't know if I've articulated that well, but that's okay. And in writing this, I feel like the things I've been wanting to say have been said. I've just gotta let it go, let it carry itself on its own without my nurturing. I've just gotta let it go. Thank you, Outer Wilds. I want to thank you for watching this video and for getting this far. I really just kind of do these things for fun. I like talking about games. I like playing games, obviously. But yeah, so it means a lot to me that some people are kind of picking these videos up and watching through them. So thank you so much for being a part of that. These things do take a lot of time, and I know what that you already know what this tone means. I do have a Patreon that if you would like, you do not have to, that's totally fine. It is more just like if you want to, that would be kind of helpful for me to put a little bit more time into making more of these kinds of videos, and just have a better video. So if you want to do that, the link is in the description. There's a couple tiers. You get to see a little bit more, like some of the background stuff or other ideas I didn't put into the video because I didn't know where to slot it in. So it's just like kind of extra little pieces to look at if you want. For the higher tier, you also get early access to these videos, as well as if you want, hey, you'll see your name in the end credits or whatever. Again, you don't have to do this. I would appreciate it. I'm gonna still be making these things anyway. So thank you so much for watching. I got some more stuff coming.